So if you've ever wanted to sit in the back seat as a rancher goes about his day, doing the things that make him happy, today is your lucky day. And also, you get to hear two old friends converse in what we call solving the problems of the world as we do ranching work. Hey Scott, how's it going?
Good. How you been?
Good.
Since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago.
No, it wasn't.
This is Scott. He's like a friend of mine from when we were like this big. So
Trinity James.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? Sorry.
Hey, that's all right.
Yeah.
Trinity James.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure, sir.
How are you associated with this dude?
Well, Scott's been the boss for 4.5 years.
Okay.
I have the pleasure of living right there and looking after
So you-
full time.
Okay. What a gorgeous little spot this is.
Yeah. Have you ever been up in this country?
Never been here. I've never been to the
unassuming.
highwoods.
It's not.
They're
This is
thinking-
not what you think of when you think of Great Falls. But I remember, not to throw you under the bus, but I
Yeah.
remember when we were this big.
Yeah.
You being the most accident-prone person that I had ever known.
No. He didn't know my dad. Yeah, he did know my dad.
Broken bones and oh my goodness.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it happens to us occasionally. So
If you want to park that either right here,
yeah, I'm gonna
or up here, anywhere, we got the feed pickup all warmed up.
I'll go right beside the
Absolutely.
rails there, be out of the way.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're gonna do kind of a just a day in the life of a rancher here in Montana, and Scott and I used to run around with pellet guns and fishing poles everywhere when we were little. Either catching fish. We always had our favorite spinners that we called killers. Never caught anything on them, but we thought they were really cool. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
We had
Well, I
like
vaguely
this
remember
map,
Yep.
pink
Yep.
map spinner thing that we always called the killer because it looked so cool, and then we never caught anything on it.
If you keep saying that, maybe they'll pick you up as a sponsor then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Out there.
So what are we doing today or this morning?
We gotta feed everything.
Feed everything.
Everything is in little groups, and we'll kind of go over what group was what as we go here. But
And
we've
you're
been on feed a lot earlier than we normally are. With the drought that we've been having, we just didn't have the fall pasture. This country's really pretty good normally for growing grass and having pasture. A lot of years we don't bring cows home till right before we calve, like January.
right.
A lot of times we'll come home with a calf or two when we come out of the fall pasture, but this year there just wasn't anything there.
And you're when do you calve here?
So long story longer, we calve here in February and March. And the reason that we don't do it any different than that is we run on a forest permit. Bylaws of the forest permit are that you can't have a bull on the forest. So if you want to be bred up for 60 days,
Oh, you can't have a bull on.
can't have a bull on the national forest.
I
So
see.
turnout onto the national forest is 1st of July. So if you want to be bred up, 60 days bred up, that puts you at calf in February. March.
Gotcha.
It's just no two ways about it. So
It's always interesting. The forest permits are always different in different ranger districts, different agreements. And he's feeding round bales here.
we are.
You put up all round bales, looks like.
We do. Yeah, we're not spoiled like you guys in that irrigated country. So
Right.
there's only one guy up in this country that even has a square baler.
Really?
And he's pretty busy in the fall doing straw, but
Well, they're expensive.
the
Those
baler
square
is
balers
terribly
are
expensive, and then you got to be set up to feed it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I've
exactly.
had a lot of guys
Yeah.
go, looking for hay this year. I've had a lot of guys say, well, we can find you square bales out of Canada. Then what?
Yeah.
Then what am I going to do?
You're gonna feed it off of this.
My opinion has always been if the price is the same and I have to stand on the back of that truck and flake it off, that's more work. So if it's dollar for dollar, I'm going to buy a round bale just to make it easier on myself.
Absolutely. Are you?
Now, if it was cheaper, that's a different story. I could stand on the back and flake hay for a long time if I was getting a heck of a deal on it. But
That's right.
we all know
Well,
how that works in the hay
it'd be a
market.
little tough to afford to feed cattle anyway if you're
It is
gonna.
hard to afford.
When you have to buy the hay, feeding cattle, you put up all this hay, or you have to buy some.
I've been here for 17 years and we've never had a year where we put up enough.
Yeah, just
And we
close,
we used to cover 430 acres. We picked up a little more lease ground. We cover about 630 acres of hay ground, and we're always 200 to 300 ton short of what we need.
200 to 300 ton is a lot of hay. Just so you guys know, 200 to 300 ton is a lot.
It is at $200 a ton.
At $200 a ton, that's a bunch.
Painful.
Just figure that out. So how many bales do you have to feed today, this morning?
So we had a little tractor mishap yesterday, so we're down to the bale truck instead of the tractor. I was really hoping that we could feed with that processor and that big tractor, because it's just kind of cool to see that big 180 horse four-wheel drive tractor process hay. But it's got a flat tire, so here we are. So we've probably got about 8 bales to feed this morning. So we're going up on what we call the north bench, just north of the house here, and this is where our replacement heifers are at. And I either feed them first or I feed these bred heifers first. But since we're a little behind today, I'll feed these calves because they get impatient, and pretty soon if you don't get up there, they're coming through the fence, and they're coming down the hill behind the barn. So rather than have to gather them and move them again today, we'll get them fed first and they'll be happy.
Yeah, one thing people don't understand about cows is they have hide that's like literally this thick, and these barbed wire fences, I mean, they're really strong suggestion. So they hold them when they want to stay there. But if they really want to go through a fence, it doesn't really hurt them to just go right through a barbed wire fence. Not like a horse.
I have run them clear through a tight 4-wire barbed wire fence. They want to go through it, right through it. And bulls are even worse.
Bulls are way worse, yes.
My wife has a story about being in the kitchen at the house down there and looking out the window and seeing her dad come in the yard with his foot caught up in the stirrup of a horse.
Oh no.
Checking calves horseback across on that bench. Drug him all the way home through several fences and into the yard.
Ow. I'm telling you what, if you guys have, oh man, I've never been hung up before, and if he's saying that you know what he means is like her dad got bucked off and then got his foot stuck in the stirrup and was drug, and that's bad. Talk about pain that won't quit because you keep getting drugged.
There are replacement heifers. These will be bred heifers next year. That's the idea anyway.
So you'll breed them not in 2023, but
well, we will. Yep, we'll breed
them in 2023.
Yep, and that's something that we've been doing a little bit different the last couple of years. Is we've actually taken to doing an AI protocol on these.
Oh, have you?
Having them a little bit early. That's why we've actually got some calves right now.
Gotcha.
And there's a couple steers in here. They're generally ones that come home from the mount after we've shipped, you know, the really big ones that you want your buyer to see.
Yeah.
And then after the trucks all leave, they come out of the mount and see where were you a week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's some of those in here, and then some light stuff.
So these are the future. These are the future of the herd here. And what are the clip tags? Notch tags.
So when we're we generally, it's not, this isn't like a universal truth for us, but most years we'll work all these calves before we ship in the fall and weigh every calf. And I take the ear notcher and put a notch in that tag, and then I don't have to sort my replacement heifers by looking at their number. So when we pull the cows off,
see who they are,
shipping, because I don't want to wean them all right away. So I can just put them all with their mom, and then after the cows are sorted off at shipping time, I can just run them down an alley and see that clip tag and pull my replacement heifers out of my heifers fast.
Makes it a lot easier. So what this does is it puts it on the ground and just rolls it out. So there's just the pressure of the ground makes it roll, and it just rolls it out. Because round bales are actually rolled up when you bale them. They're just hay that's rolled up in a pack. And so that unrolls just the same as it rolled. Most of the time. Just like that.
That's one.
Oh. Yeah. You
Before
notice
we
how
had the processor, we would do that, 16, 17 times a day when we were in the middle of calving.
Oh yeah. So you're not calving yet.
We're calving the heifers. So my due date with
yeah.
that AI protocol that I mentioned, our due date on our heifers is Friday. It's the 20th. So we've got 9 now. We had another one last night.
Okay.
So they're getting started.
I got it this time. I'm good enough. Now I can get out and actually get a gate anymore. So yeah, and the heifers, just so you guys remember, heifers are the first time calvers. So they're the ones that have not had a calf yet. So sometimes they're a little tougher to actually calve because they have more trouble, right, Scott?
They have more trouble, and some of them just aren't fit to be mothers.
Well, that's true. And you find out.
Know that.
Find out when it happens.
That's why I feed straight holes.
As a rancher or somebody who likes the outdoors, things that you can carry along with you as snacks are imperative. So today I have something new to share with you, which is pretty cool. It's put out by Wagbar, they're a partner of mine, which is called Wag Bites. And Wagyu beef is some of the best beef, the top quality beef in the world. American Wagyu is a little different, and what this company does is actually make them into a little Ziploc bag, and they make basically Wagyu nuggets. And they call them bites. And I'll tell you what, this is the original flavor. Wow, that is so good. So if you want to try some of these, use the link down below and put in the code Trinity10. I got it written down there to get 10% off of any order. Now back to our day in the ranch.
So was your wedding a beautiful wedding in the mountains? Or?
My wedding was a beautiful wedding, but we had it at the Little Methodist Church in Highwood.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then we rode in a little horse-drawn wagon over to the community hall for our reception. It was quite
Okay.
nice.
I did the same thing.
Did you?
It was like
How was that?
10 below zero at our wedding, April 5th, and it was like 10 below zero. And yeah, we were in. Everybody couldn't get there because
I was late because my truck tried to not start after I topped it off with gas at the gas station in East Helena.
Oh,
That's why I was late for your wedding. Was that
that was a long time ago. That was 25 years ago, huh?
Was your reception at the VFW?
It was at it was at the 4-H center
Okay.
or something.
Okay.
It was a Quonset, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah. How long you been married now?
20.
20 years.
20
So
this
you were
past
married
September.
5 years after me.
Yeah. You were the first friend I had that got married.
Well, I was 18 years old when I got married,
Right,
so
that was young.
I was pretty close
I
to
was
as soon as I could have.
And that was still stupid young.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. He means that in the best possible way, just so you know.
I know.
I mean, when you're
23, you're still stupid.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say.
Do you remember the days when we had the little squares and you had to load them all, or did you
I
ever
don't
have to do that?
pleasure,
No.
but
I do remember
my
those
wife
days.
still very well remembers her dad feeding all little squares with a team.
Oh, with team, yeah.
The draft course.
Boy, that's a lot of extra work. I should go film it. I took some pictures of somebody that feeds with a team every day. still, and with teams. They have like 3 different guys feeding with teams in different areas every day. And I mean, it's awesome, but it is so much extra work. You have to really want to do that to do it, because I mean, get the teams ready, and then every day, and when it's cold, you're not sitting in here, you're exposed the entire time. So I see you got
the rim
wagons right there.
Wagons,
yeah. And these are, now we're feeding the heifers, right?
Red heifers, yeah.
So these are the ones that are calving.
These are yep. There's 2. One of them is new last night. The other one's a few days old.
A couple of baby calves over there. Snow. So, I mean, you can't have bulls in the forest, and bulls are. I understand kind of why, because bulls are really hard sometimes to even get out of the mountains. They get stuck in the timber, and they don't want to come out. They get old and cranky and solitary.
There's no way to keep everybody's ranges separate. So I mean, you'd be breeding your cows to whatever bull your neighbor bought.
Right.
You know?
Right. True.
And if you're wanting to control that factor, you wouldn't be able to at all.
Right. So are these registered then, or
No, we don't run any registers.
you just double tag them?
Yep. 'Cause by the time they're 10, they'll only have 1. So we just do 2.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Gives you lots of no tags over the course of a lifetime.
And what he's talking about is, I assume what he's talking about is when you run them in the mountains, like up in the timber country, they tend to lose a tag by hooking it in a tree or a bush or something and ripping the thing out. Wire, yep. So these are all 2-year-olds.
These are all 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
So you're gonna ask me here in a minute why there's different colored tags. I know you're gonna. So the
Yeah,
orange
always
tag
do.
ones are mine.
Orange tag
And
yours,
and
okay.
the white ones are the ranch. They're the corp.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know.
So the white ones, he's talking white tags like that,
Yeah.
are belong to the ranch, and then these are his personal ones right here, the orange tags.
When we get to the cows, I'll make it even more confusing than that.
Oh, it's always, everybody does
it different. There's a million and one ways to do it.
Oh yeah, and you always have, you know, that's the thing about ranching, is you always got like 6 different businesses kind of going. So
Absolutely.
it's always different.
And you can be in the same place and have 10 ranches, and they'll do things 10 different ways.
Exactly. That's why I always tell anybody, if you're gonna ever get a job as a ranch hand, do it however that rancher does it, not how you think you should do it. I would say there are some things in life that are black and white.
Absolutely.
But most things are not black and white. People want to make them black and white. Like, you're right, I'm wrong, he's wrong, this person's right. And the problem is that's not necessarily true. There's like 7 ways to do everything. So, or most things. I'm just gonna lump most of life into that category. So the same thing with ranching. You got people do it this way, people do it that way, but they all get the job done. And there's some that are better than others in more efficient ways, but then they're worse in other ways. So how do you say that this guy's right and that guy's wrong, you know?
Right. And I think, I mean, for me, one of the things that I've learned in the last 18 years of doing this is, I think when I came in, I had this idea that the next generation was going to do everything smarter. And
oh yeah.
The longer I do it, the more you realize that Dad and Granddad weren't dumb. Everything they did had a reason to it.
Oh,
They
right.
didn't calve in the dead of winter because they were fools. There was a reason they did it. Just
Mhm.
because we don't understand what that was doesn't mean that they were wrong.
Right. So you've been doing this for 18 years?
We've been on the ranch since '04.
Since '04.
Is that right? No, '06.
Right after you got married? Weren't
We
you
got
on here?
married in '02, and my wife finished college down in Bozeman, and I happily quit college down in Bozeman.
Yeah? Did you?
Came up here in '06.
Okay. So this is a question for you. How much do you think you went to college for? How many years?
Oh, I dabbled in college was probably 3, but none of that.
For 3?
3 or 4.
And how much
Inconsistent.
do you think that really helped you as far as what you do now?
Truthfully?
Yeah.
0.
So-
Absolutely 0. And the reason for me is I had no idea that my life was going to move in a direction, in an agriculture direction. I had no
Right.
idea. I mean, my folks weren't in agriculture. I had family in the business. You know, I had grandpas that worked for equipment dealers and uncles that had dairies and stuff like that. But
And you guys did they put a pay for farmers around the Bozeman area and stuff like that, so they were associated with agriculture. But what he's saying is so true, is like if you go to college, I see the reason I ask this, I believe there's a big fallacy going on that our kids have to go to college right away, or they just fail, you know, they're just not going to do anything in life. And it's like, the problem is you don't even know what you're going to do.
that's exactly what
How would you know what to go to college for?
I went to work for a farm after I was out of high school, and it was just a summer job. It was just a job haying and irrigating, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, I loved it. If there was a way I could have done that all year, I'd have never left. But there was nothing to do there in the wintertime. So in the winter, I'd go to college, or I'd find a all-winter job. So then after we got married, well, back that up. Yeah, after we got married, my dad and I started doing custom cutting, and I stopped working for that farm I had been at. And when Willow's dad asked if we'd ever be interested in coming back to the ranch, we said, well, yeah. I mean, I already knew I liked the farming part and the summertime part. The question was, what are you going to think of cows? And that was the big, you know, unknown was, you know, you like this part of agriculture. What are you going to think of the other? And it turns out I don't mind the cows at all. I actually kind of like the cows. So that worked out good. But I had none of that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about myself when I was in college. So, I mean, I was going to college for counseling or accounting or fish and wildlife management, or, you know, nothing that has anything to do with this.
Right. So now we're probably going somewhere a little bit further away. So he's putting 2 bales on, puts one up there on the pickup, and then he's gonna take this one and put it up behind it. And that way, you don't have to go back to the stack right away. But I mean, even if you could have seen, so let's just take this little. What I think usually is that you should go try several things. You should go get a job, go work, do something so you can figure out what you even want to do. And then if it requires college, like engineering or something like that, then you have a, like, oh, now I can go to college and do something I want to do. Otherwise, you go to college for something and you might spend $50,000 to $120,000 in college debt, and then have what is it called? Diploma, a degree in something that you don't want to do, but you're kind of stuck. And then you have to do that, and you end up with a job you hate. I'm just going down the road here, but you know, in my mind, but you know, I don't even know what you would take in college to do what you're doing that would benefit.
I mean, to me, it's always, but there was always 2 things I could have done better. One, I could have just not gone and not spent a tremendous amount of money that I didn't need to spend. Or 2, you wait to go until you have an idea what you want to do.
Right.
And I mean, MSU Bozeman has a great ag program. I mean, my brother-in-law went there and got, you know, a degree in ranch ranch management and agriculture. I don't know what specifically it is, but I mean, that's a really good program. There's lots of 2-year programs like that too, you know, Haver and stuff like that, but I did not know that. I was not aware of that. Well, not that I wasn't aware. It's just if you would have told me at 18, hey, maybe you should think about a degree in agriculture and ranching.
Right.
I'd be laughed out of the room.
Why?
I'd be like, yeah, you're talking to me.
Yeah. And also now I'm discovering there's places like Ranching for Profit, which is a school that you go to just to learn how to make a profit while ranching. So you skip you have to learn about all the religions that they used to have in the Inca, which doesn't do you any good in ranching, and you actually go right to like how to actually run this thing, you know. So there's that too. Where have you?
Yep.
I've talked to a couple people now that have gone to that, and they're very impressed. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check it out and see what its costs and what the time is and all that. Okay, you gotta let me get this one.
This it's really icy on this one. Really
I see that. There's a couple of red cows out on the road.
Saw that. Those be the neighbors.
Those be the neighbors?
Yep.
We'll call that the long pasture. Yeah, it's long and narrow, skinny.
There was a guy up in this area for a while. He always called those OPC cows, other people's cows.
That's right. If they're out, what it means is if they're not in
always had an OPC pin.
Yeah, an OPC pin. Ones that aren't yours. And,
Right.
yep. This is how you call cattle
This is
in
how you call them,
Montana.
right? I can do it by yelling at them too, but this is much less embarrassing.
Exactly.
That's an amazing thing, though. I mean, there've been times where I wish to have a camera like that, like when we're gathering in the fall, where you've got them out on a big fall pasture, and you could pull in and honk this horn, and it's like watching ants on an anthill. They just
Oh yeah.
funnel down, and they're really kind of amazing.
But
They're the smartest, dumbest animal you've ever been around.
yes, when you're working them, sometimes they're the dumbest animal in the world, and other times they're like, wow, they're pretty smart.
And they make you the maddest because you know they know better.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
you know they're not as dumb as they're acting like.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and so I've said this before, but the calling with the vehicle horn doesn't really work when you have green grass everywhere. It only works when the feed that you have on the back of the truck is better than what they're eating in the field, which is right now in Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, how many months of winter do you end up with here?
A lot.
A lot.
I mean, last year we had 3 snowstorms in September, and we generally never stop feeding before the 1st of May.
Yeah, it's
a long time to get
it's a
things to warm up and turn green out here.
Yeah.
And we're just high enough to have that. I mean, you can go down the road 4 miles in the springtime, and it's totally different. 4 miles can make a huge difference.
And that's elevation, you think, or?
It must be. I don't know what else. These are all bred cows.
Okay.
And they're not due to start calving until around the 6th of February or so.
Okay.
But we'll, depending on weather, we'll probably put them in that pasture where those red heifers are around the 1st of the month. The thing that I've been bringing joy to my heart lately is I just can't stop thinking about when we were kids and my family moved to Helena, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I had never been on a horse, done any of this stuff. How it was that we spent every recess for 3 years playing cowboys and ranchers.
I know. I remember that.
30 some years later,
here you are.
And that just is amazing.
Isn't that something? We literally we had a tree as a fort, and we would play cowboys every single recess.
Single one.
And then summers after that, we were always messing around with something. So
yeah, you taught me the value of knowing if an electric fence is on or off.
I may or may not have done that. I don't. I totally deny anything he's about to say. No, I. Oh yes, I do.
And I said, "Is this on?" And you said, "No." Pow!
It's pretty hard to see it. Always funny to me that, you know, during the summer, you'd never get this close to the cattle without them,
Oh my goodness.
you know, running all over the place. But right now, when you're feeding them all the time, they, you know, they let you walk right in there and get a good close shot of them.
Bulls are the same way.
Yeah.
You can't make a bull go anywhere when they're with a group of cows.
Right.
You can feed them in the wintertime and scratch them all on the nose.
Yep.
Call them by name if you chose to.
They're completely different.
Man, that's hard to see.
Yeah, that's just like a strand of grass, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So the bleach on the withers is...
Yeah, so I wondered if you'd see those too. So a lot of times when we preg check and gather everything, you know, we've got a good enough group of cows that you just kind of sort your opens from your bred cows. But this year we had so much trouble getting everything home and finding everything because they were so spread out from being so dry.
Oh, I suppose they ranged a little further, huh?
Yeah. So, you know, you got your preg checking date on the calendar with the vet. You can't just cancel and get another one because she's pretty busy. So
Yep.
we decided we had to bleach mark everything.
Oh, I see.
Bred or open, they got a bleach mark. That way, you know, when we did them, the next group a month later, you knew who you'd done, so you weren't doing them twice.
So the bleach mark on the withers is
It's a bred cow.
a bred cow.
Yep.
What is it on the hips?
Open.
Open on the hips. Okay.
Did you see one with?
I saw one with the bleach mark on the hip.
Yeah. So we kept a few of our opens there over there, and they're
Or
feeling pretty sorry for themselves that they're not getting.
Oh, I'm sure. What we're talking about is this little white patch on the top of their withers right here. And what that is bleach. So when you got them in the chute and you're checking to see whether they're bred or not, they're if they're bred, meaning they're going to have a calf, then they'll bleach on the withers so you can see it.
Like ladies using their
Peroxide. Okay. Hydrogen peroxide. And it just makes a white mark on the withers so you can see it. So you know, like this cow right over here. I don't know if you can see that, but she's got a mark on her withers. So if she was open, meaning she didn't have a calf, she wasn't pregnant, it would be on the hips. That way you could see, oh, this one's bred, this one's not bred, this one's bred, this one's not bred.
You know,
I've been down to Billings and they had a heck of a wet summer down there. So you're up here though, it was like no moisture. Or no rain anyway.
we had springs and wells go dry that people hadn't seen dry in 60, 80 years.
Wow.
You know, so highwoods are notoriously good for being getting good moisture.
And just
Talked to a lot of stockmen in the country, and they hear you got cows in the highwoods, they think how lucky you are because of all the grass and water you get.
this year just wasn't the case, huh?
No, I mean, so what I was gonna say is, a lot of these coulees generally have a trickle of water running down them all the time.
Okay.
And last year and the summer before, we had to come in with heavy equipment and get down into the water table and
Make a
do
pond.
spring development to get water.
Yeah, we gotta do that all the time over in the Elkhorn Strip. They don't have
All the time.
And that actually, but a lot of that is actually from poor forest management because of all the forest fires.
You don't say.
And there's like 70 billion Christmas trees growing up in the mountains. They're so thick that you can't even crawl through. And they suck up all the water in the springs and put it off in the air. So what happens is not all your springs dry up and creeks dry up. That's a completely different story.
Yeah, that was a big deal. You know, there's a lot of people up here that were hauling water that never had to worry about water.
Yeah, that's
We didn't. We never had to worry about water.
Huh.
What we normally do on a normal year is in the fall when we bring cows home, we would sort steer pairs and heifer pairs, and one group would go on this side and one group would go on that side of the fence, and they had a water tank in between them, and we'd keep the steers and the heifers separate till shipping time, like that. And then all of a sudden we hit 2021, and there wasn't enough water in that water tank for 100 head of cows, let alone 480. And so we had to let everything commingle and water up here at Watkins Creek, and we were lucky. You know, we didn't have to resort to water tanks and water trucks,
which is really
every
annoying.
day.
That is really annoying. I've seen that happen before. That's interesting because, you know, if you're down in Texas, they were having like a 5-year drought or something down there, and they have a lot of people have had to sell their cattle, or a lot of their cattle, and wait till they get some rain. And up here, man, if you had to do that, you'd be out of business. If you had to sell all your cattle for 2 years,
Yeah, then what would you do?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Your land would basically be wasted. So we have a lot more winter too, so it's a completely different ecosystem up here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Profit margins are a little lower
A little bit.
because you have to feed all the time,
A little bit. Yeah.
which means more fuel involved, more hay, which is a huge expense.
You could do hours and hours and hours on margins on
Oh yeah,
cattle. I mean,
because every situation is different a little bit.
you talk to financial people, and I've had you know, professionals in the financial market say the most complicated market that they know of is cattle futures, the cattle market. It's insanely complicated.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't possibly, my small brain can't possibly digest it all.
No. That's why some people want me to do like if you had 100 head of cattle, then this would happen, and you know, kind of go through a situation thing money-wise. But the problem is so many factors. It's like, where is it? How much moisture do you have? How much hay do you raise yourself? How much you have to buy? Where, I mean, unbelievable amount of variables that you can't really figure.
I did that one year, not with financial stuff, but I just, out of curiosity, one night when I was calving and sitting in the calving barn, I was just penciling stuff out, thinking, and I took 100 head of cows and said, at average fertility rates, if you didn't replace any of your cows, how long would you have a herd of 100 cows? 5 years.
Okay.
You're out in 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you take your 10% off the top your first year, and then your coming 3-year-olds are always the hardest, and you take, you know, 15-18% of them the next year, and then just go with averages. And it was like, in 5 years you were at like 20 cows
Out of 100.
yeah
Yeah.
I mean, it's
there's replacements, and that takes out a lot of your profit. You're not selling 100 head of calves every year. If you have 100 cows,
like, we try to maintain at least 25, sometimes even not 50% of everything, but I mean 25-50% of your heifer calves. But you want to be keeping at least 20%, 25% of your total herd in replacement heifers every
Right.
year.
Right. Just to maintain your herd so it doesn't get old and right,
Old and decrepit.
old and decrepit and worthless. Yeah.
There's kind of more than one school of thought with that too. I mean, I have neighbors that at shipping time they should sell every single calf, and then they just restock with some bred heifers or some bred cows here and there.
Right. Different
And
ways
that's
to
what
do
they
that
And
too.
that's an open herd, and it works great for them. You know, we've kind of had a closed herd for as long as I've been around, and we keep our own replacement heifers, and they all come for our cows, and they all know what home is.
And you keep fresh genetics in your herd by AI.
Yeah, and by switching up, you know, bulls every so often. Dave, this is Trinity Vandenacre. Trinity, this is my
How you
father.
doing? Good to meet you. You're the guy that started this deal, huh?
No, I'm just a middle guy.
Just a middle guy?
A cog in the wheel like the rest of us.
I heard you started out in Augusta.
in Lincoln, but went to school in Augusta. Yeah,
From Lincoln?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. Went to school in Augusta before there was a high school at Lincoln.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Family's originally from Conrad,
Oh,
and I got a couple uncles and stuff still live in Shoto,
oh, sure,
which is close.
sure.
But
yeah,
yeah.
I have a brother there at Bowman's Corners.
oh dear.
Yeah,
Okay. Right at Bowman's Corner?
yeah. That's where. Well, the ranch right there at the corners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What place is that? Is that?
Tobacco Valley Herefords.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Name
I've seen
on the
that.
sign there. That's what it used to be.
It's really close to the Hat Creek Ranch, or the Hall. What's the one that's just towards Sims from there? It's now owned by the Dearborn.
Dearborn Ranch Company. Yeah.
Yeah. I love to hunt mule deer. That's my thing.
Oh.
Love to hunt mule deer. I do hunt elk, but mostly because my sons are friends. And everybody puts elk ahead of everything else, except for me.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't. So they say no. Well, just one more reason that they say I'm crazy. One is, that I have a camera, that I learned to write code. That helped everybody think I'm crazy. And then I don't like to hunt elk as much as I like to hunt mule deer. That's another one. So added to the list, right?
Up in the mob?
Yeah. But I haven't done it in a few years now. My kids are all in sports during hunting season, and it's really makes hunting difficult.
Isn't that aggravating?
Did you know that?
I do know about that.
So I ask my kids all the time in hunting season, so do you want to hunt or do you want to play sports? Because there's not really going to be two options here. Once you start playing sports, practices and games and everything, it makes it really difficult to go hunting. And they're always like, oh yeah, we want to play sports. And then during the season, they always say, well, Dad, when are we going to go hunting? I'm like, when are you going to go hunting? Because you have practice today, tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And
Yeah. The answer is when you're done with school.
exactly. When you're finished with school, then we'll go hunting. So hunting has gone by the wayside for me in as far as like hunting a lot. You get to run out here and there, but that's about it. What do you like? What's your favorite thing to hunt?
Oh man,
Is it elk or
I do enjoy getting out after elk with my bow.
bow hunting elk?
Yeah, you can keep your elk hunting with a rifle.
Really?
Well, up here you can. I'm sure it's fun other places. It's just a tremendous amount of work up here. I mean, it's work everywhere. I don't mean to sound like it needs to be easy, but
Right. Hunting elk is
There's
not
a lot of
easy.
people
He's
that
not
think-
saying that.
this is a limited draw area for a rifle tag. And I get
Yes.
so many people that draw that tag and think, wow, I finally drew that highwood tag. I'm gonna kill a big bull. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. I mean, my brother-in-law had that tag last year, and he hunted every weekend. He's a pastor in Great Falls, so he doesn't have a lot of time, but he hunted a lot. Ice is aggravating.
It is. Ice is really aggravating. All his clumps of stuff are just freezing onto the. Yeah, and this is hay barley, which is actual barley that you can see the heads in some of this. It's made to cut for hay, but you plant it every year. There you go. There's a head. It's got seeds and barley in it, and they actually do eat this straw. It's actually made for this, so grown so it doesn't have the
Doesn't have beard.
beards on it. The beards tend to stick in.
Awnless, they call it.
Huh?
Awnless.
Awnless.
I think so. I think that's what they call
And the beards are the little whispery things or stickery things that are on the tips of every seed. And what they do in cattle is they get stuck in the cheek and cause a big old abscess and stuff, pain. So he's feeding this along with some hay, and this has got a lot of nutrients in it. This cows like it. It keeps them fat, gives them a lot of what they need for getting through the wintertime.
So my brother-in-law, he ended up killing a bull finally on Thanksgiving Day last year.
Right at the end of the season.
In
Yeah.
the season. It was the first decent bull he had seen the entire time. He put on 100 miles on foot to find that one bull.
I know the deal. In the Elkhorns, it's the same way. The Elkhorns is a special draw area where it's almost impossible to draw a tag. and when you draw meaning it's a lottery system, like 11,000 people put in for it every year, and only 110 tags are given for bull elk. So what happens is you get this expectation like you're going to get this massive bull, but if the weather isn't right, or you know, those bulls aren't stupid, they go right back into this nasty, horrible pocketed areas alone or with one other bull, and it's almost impossible to get there. So lots of people who draw that tag either end up shooting a small bull or nothing if they hold out.
I'd rather get to see all the bulls and hear them all and watch them all and go home with nothing. But no, I got to, you know, I glassed the biggest ones around, and maybe I didn't get one that year, but got to see them and play with them.
He's talking about bow hunting because they're out. They have to come out to breed the cows. The cows are out. The cow elk are out on the front in more places, so you get to see them.
And they're vocal and they're easy to find.
Yeah.
And they're around. I mean, the fact of the matter is, by the time you get to the end of the rut, they're just, those bulls are just,
all right, disappear.
They're back to isolation.
Yep.
And they're very hard to find.
They are. Yeah. I honestly, there's been a lot of times when I have gone hunting and seen some game and some good stuff, and I just had such a good time, and something will come along, you're like, I could shoot that, and there's no way I would shoot it because I would ruin this experience for myself, you know, because then you got the work and the, you know, it depends on what you're doing. But
and I've never been and never will be the horseman you are, but my only experience is coming off a horse. We're trying to get deer and stuff on a horse.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
They've never done it before. It gets to be a little western. Nowhere, it's getting dark.
And it's always getting dark on you when you're trying to pack one up somewhere. In Montana, literally in the hunting season, at the end of hunting season, it's like, I don't know, it gets light at 7:45 and dark at 4:20. So you don't have any light. So you're always in the dark or somewhere, almost in the dark.
Yeah, and I shot a little muley buck over by us one time, and I got on my horse and he handed me the head and cape, and my horse just did one of those.
Yeah.
Snort. Somewhere in all that, I had the presence of mind to ditch the sharp object that I was holding on to, because I knew I was going to join it on the ground soon.
Pointy little horns.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I threw it off, and I lost a stirrup, and I knew I was coming off. I fell in 3 feet of fluffy snow, so it wasn't too bad of an experience.
But that's good. And I don't like breaking horses. I ride horses after they got like 60 days on them or something, so they're kind of started. The starting horses is for the birds. My dad likes it, but it is so scary because they don't know what they're gonna do. So if they don't know, how could you know?
It's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
High risk.
Taking your life in your hands. So how many more bales you got to feed up here?
I've been giving them 7, and I was gonna.
So we've done 6, right?
We've done 4.
4.
Yeah. But so the big tractor in the yard hooked to the process. I'm sure you know this by now, but it's very hard to feed straw that's gone through a rotary combine with a bale bed. As soon as you cut it, it's just a pile of dust on the ground. So last year we knew, because of the scarcity of hay, that we were going to have to blend our feed with some straw. So we got that processor, but with that tractor having a flat tire, I can't use it. So we're just going to feed 2 more bales of hay up here. I've been giving them 3 or 4 bales of straw depending on the temperature, a couple bales of grass, alfalfa mix, and a couple bales of that grain hay.
I see.
Today with that tractor down, we're just going to give 4 bales of hay and 2 bales of grain hay.
And you know, I saw the tire off the tractor. When it's not like a flat tire on a vehicle where you can just like change it out. They're big tires, and they don't pop on a rim. That you can't. You got to have the right equipment to do that. So you got to either. And they're wet.
And they're wet, so they weigh a couple thousand pounds of calcium in them.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, because they have calcium in there to weigh them down. So it's not fun at all to change them. So how do you do that? When you're going to have somebody come up here?
I got a service call coming
Today to fix it?
We were going to bring it to town yesterday, knowing that, you know, that it's something that you need to use every day. It's kind of urgent. It's like, okay, how can we fix this today? because we need it for tomorrow. And you call around town and you find out if you did all the work of getting it off the tractor, putting it on a pickup or a flatbed trailer and getting it into town, that they don't have time to get to it today. It's like, why am I going to hurry if you can't?
Exactly.
If you can come tomorrow. So they're coming sometime today.
So what you're saying is you're not as OCD as some people.
Like, I am pretty OCD.
I was thinking you were. I was around him as a kid. I remember him being OCD, but
yeah. There's probably things about when I was a kid that I don't want you telling my wife.
Yeah.
I was a strange little kid.
well, I think we're all strange little kids. I mean, we were always pretty strange, but I wasn't I'm not OCD. I have a problem with any details at all. I'm a total big picture person, but I remember you being really, really clean and
Weird.
pick stuff up,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
So it's just gonna sit there today until they come. I don't know what we fed these bulls yesterday, and when James pulled out of the bullpen, it was like following a blood trail on a lung shot deer. There was calcium blasts all the way down the driveway. So
Big hole.
he must have hit a stick or a rock that went through the tire.
Wow.
So the tire's got a hole in it about 5 inches long.
Huh.
It's done. I mean, it can't be fixed. And then all the calcium went out and the tube ripped, and then it came off the rim. And
Yeah, I saw it was off the rim.
comedy of error.
So the bulls are in here, huh?
Those are the bulls, yeah.
Yeah.
How
How many?
have about, I think there's about 20 of them in there. I think about a quarter of them are Hereford bulls at this
Okay.
point. Kind of started doing that whole
Yep.
mix it up kind of thing.
F1 stuff they talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See that
Yes.
little hole?
Oh yeah, it's a
See that
tear.
4-inch tear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tear right through that tire.
That's
Those
gonna-
are not easy to tear.
That's going to be about an $1,800 tear.
Wow. Yeah. It hurts.
Yep.
Cows per bull.
About 25.
Up
Somewhere
here.
between 20 and 30. They do have to travel a ways up here.
They do. So,
And be able to climb. And that's the amazing thing about it. I don't want to talk bad about the Black Angus because that's what we mostly have. But when you look at the percent of Hereford bulls we have, and then you look at the percent of Baldy calves we have,
yeah.
the Hereford bulls are doing more work.
Or are they?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
They're not fighting so much. They're not hiding out when it's hot out
Yeah.
as much.
You guys gonna go tag some calves next?
We're going to do that in a little bit. We're going to tour the barn here.
Oh, tack show.
tack show, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll catch you guys in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, see you, James. I would try to tell some of those saddle stories, but I'd get them all wrong.
All right. What was your name again, just for the camera?
Dave.
Dave?
Yeah. You?
Trinity.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Wait. And this is Scott's father-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's so he was on this place. How many years you been on this place?
Susie and I moved here in '76.
76.
Yeah.
Okay. Susie's your wife?
Susie's my wife. She was born here. Yeah.
She was born here.
Yeah.
So her family been on here a long
Her
time?
family's been here. Her family bought it in 1938.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right about just before the Depression or
No, after.
right after the
Kinda
Depression?
After, yeah.
Yeah. That was a time when if anybody had any money, it was a great time to buy land because it was really, really cheap.
Yep. And it's probably that way yet today. If you got some money, land's probably a good investment.
That's true.
To go borrow money and try and do it, that ain't in the cards. My wife's granddad died in right up on the hill up here.
He died in it?
Yeah, he had a heart attack and fell out right up on the hill here.
Well, and you have occasional nannying problems as well.
So I was going to say, you have a heifer that's never had a calf before, and she calves, and one of the other calves come over, and you get mix-ups, and I mean, you get problems. So I mean, for like my wife and I, we don't draw a wage at all. So our benefit to running the ranch and doing everything is
Almost. There you go.
have to maintain it. I mean, I look at pictures of the Bridger Mountains from the 60s compared to now, and there were no trees all the way up the side of the Bridger Mountains 60 years ago.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this day on the ranch in Montana and maybe learned something. Just let me know down below what was your favorite part of this. If this type of video where we're mostly talking and doing work and showing the cows and things like that is something that you're really interested in, and look forward to part 2, because this was a tough one for me. Sometimes I edit out everything until I get a shorter video. When I was watching this, there's just a lot of conversation that has to do with Montana, how we live in Montana, what we do here, what we think about what's happening with some of the problems, some of the things that we have to deal with in Montana, and some of the things that we get to deal with. So I thought it was interesting, so I left it in. Hopefully that wasn't a mistake. You guys get to tell me.